Hello everyone and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today is Sergeant Jason Folz. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Yvonne.
Should I call you Sergeant or is it Jason?
Jason's fine.
Jason's good for now?
Absolutely.
Well, welcome, and I'm so glad you're here on the show today. And you just shared with me that Sergeant, that is a fairly new title for you.
Yes, fairly new. I was promoted February into the Provincial Communication Center, and then I've recently started a temporary assignment down back in media, where I kind of started. So.
Okay, so yes, give me a little bit more about your background, and then we have a couple of things we want to discuss to keep communities safe. Yes.
Indeed. So my background with the Ontario Provincial Police is I started 23 years ago. I started to lose track after a while. And most of my career was spent in Peterborough. Okay. And the final bits that I did in Peterborough were as the media officer there. So I've done a little bit with media over the years, and was then promoted in February to the Provincial Communication Center, and then now my temporary assignment here. And
so you're here now in Orillia?
I am in Orillia.
Yes, and so what is your position here?
So I'm the Community Safety Coordinator for the region, so I kind of look after and help assist our media officers at our 14 detachments throughout the region. 14
detachments?
Yes.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought that there were that many, so that's...
If you get me to list them, I might miss it one or two, and then they'll be upset. So.
Yeah, no, we don't want to miss anybody, yes.
There is a few.
Yes, so, and I wanted to have somebody from the OPP, Ontario Provincial Police, to talk about keeping our communities safe. And I mean, there's a lot of things happen, and of course, I was a nurse for many years working in the emergency room. My husband Jordy's a paramedic. We see a lot of things that people don't see, and the first thing we're going to chat about is the Big Four.
The Big Four.
The Big Four. Tell us about the Big Four.
Well, it doesn't matter where I go. I can go to community events all over the province, meet people in the mall, and they all want to tell me about the speeder on their road.
Oh, yes.
Or
I'm one of those people.
That's right. and it is a big issue for people that live in our communities. And it also is part of, when we start talking about the Big Four, we start talking about the causal factors in fatal crashes. Okay. And the Big Four, of course, are aggressive driving, which includes speeding, distracted driving, which we're hearing way more about and almost too much about, lack of seatbelt use, and impaired driving. Those are the Big Four. And quite often on holiday weekends and, certain times of the year, we target these specific causal factors of fatal collisions.
Yes.
And we do campaigns on them. And some of them are the enforcement end, which people don't necessarily like. Sure. And some of them are parts like this, where we can talk openly about these causal factors and getting people to start thinking before they act.
Prevention.
You got it.
And that's the saddest part of many fatalities in our communities, is that sometimes it's weather related, sometimes there are issues out of our control. Most of the time,
it's not.
Is that correct? Would you say it is most of the time?
That's
it
correct.
Is preventable, and that's it's already devastating, and that just compounds the devastation.
That's, and back in the day, we used to call these accidents.
Yes.
Terrible accidents.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not accidents. They're crashes or collisions, because most of the times they are preventable.
And that is an important reframing, right? Because again, if you're struck by lightning, that's an accident.
Absolutely.
But if you're driving your vehicle like a maniac, impaired, distracted, or...
And not wearing your seatbelt, then it's going to be fun.
People still don't wear their seatbelts.
Absolutely.
I find that mind-boggling, actually, because, well, first of all, why would you want to risk a fine if you don't care about your own safety? But it's such an easy... It's such an easy thing.
And I think with modern cars, people think to a certain extent that seatbelt use might be optional because we now have airbags and these kind of things, but they're not meant to work alone. Those systems all work together,
right,
to keep you safe. And yes, our cars are safer than they've ever been, but we're still having road fatalities.
That is just absolutely incredible and easy. Wear your seatbelt. That's number one.
Right.
Number one. Okay, so, and then we talk about aggressive driving, speeding, and that again is another thing. I think, where are you going? Where are you going in such a tremendous hurry?
Well, and we see this, I see this predominantly on long weekends, and people seem to want to be first to get to wherever they're going, to the cottage, you know, to close up the cottage or whatever. And,
sure.
And, you know, there's long lines of vehicles on 2-lane highways, and they want to get there first. I don't know what it is, but, you know, if you speed up to a line of cars that are doing 90 kilometers an hour maybe, and you pass 3 or 4 of them, you're going to catch up to another line of cars doing 90 kilometers an hour. So you're putting yourself really at unnecessary risk.
Unnecessary.
And, absolutely. And, you know, you're not going to get there that much quicker. You may save 5 minutes in the grand total of the time.
Exactly. And here's the other thing. If you don't care about your safety or other people's safety, because that's often what happens, is you're the aggressive driver, but somebody else dies. But even if you don't care about any of that, on the long weekends, there are going to be more police out there giving you tickets.
That's right.
So, we live in Port Sydney, so in the influx on the long weekends is extraordinary. And we've seen people weaving and speeding, and then we're all stuck in the same place.
Like passing long lines of cars. If you've got to pass 2 or 3 cars to maintain the speed that you want to speed, you should probably reconsider those things. So that's the portion of aggressive driving that kind of happens. It goes with, you know, tailgating, speeding, weaving in and out, improper lane changes, all of those things.
Yes.
But speed is one of the bigger factors in that section, simply because the faster you go and you have a crash, the less survivable it is.
Absolutely. You dropped your statistics here. So let's see. I mean, I bet you they're very important. So yeah, and again, these are preventable. And you know, leave half an hour earlier. Take your time. You're going to get there when you get there. And that's also part of our society, though, isn't it? We're always in a rush. We're in a hurry. We've got to get there quickly.
That's right. And you know, living where we do in Central Region, it's a beautiful drive.
It is a beautiful drive.
You know what I mean?
Take
make it a part of your destination, that you're going to have this drive and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to maybe make some stops along the way. And then it's less of a rush and it's less of a time restraint, or you feel like you have to win the race. That
is a really positive way to reframe it also, isn't it? Make it a part of your long weekend, the fact that you're going to have this time to have a conversation, listen to your favorite music, look at the beautiful, look at Muskoka and look at it all around here. It's so beautiful. Right. So slow down and make it a part of your journey as well. And
absolutely.
That's, once again, an easy fix, right?
Well, you'll find your stress level will come down too.
Absolutely. And my stress level will come down when you're not speeding by me.
Or tailgating.
Yes, or tailgating. Oh my goodness, yes. I get very emotional about that, because again, there's when you have cars all lined up and one crashes and everyone else crashes into them.
That's right.
If you're far enough back, that's not going to happen.
That's right.
Easy fixes. Now we're going to talk about the one that really I just am mind-boggled: distracted driving and people texting and driving. I'm going to share a little story.
Okay.
I was driving down the road on the highway in Huntsville, and I saw this truck, and it was weaving like this. And my nurse hat was on. I thought, oh my goodness, this person is having a heart attack, a stroke. This is a medical emergency. I was sure it was a medical emergency, Jason.
Yes.
And my little friend, this young man, was texting. Because I pulled up beside him, and he was texting and weaving. When he got off the same time I did, and I laid on the horn, and we had a little chat. I can't repeat what I said because I was I was a little fired up. How ridiculous! How ridiculous!
It does seem ridiculous, but in our society right now, people getting a text message is almost on par with a stranger in public tapping you on the shoulder. What's your urge to turn around and figure out who just tapped me on the shoulder? Similarly, this is the text message. Oh my God, who texted me? I need to find out what's going on. Immediately. So the best advice I can give is take those devices that do cause distraction and tuck them away in a glove box in a center console in your luggage somewhere, so you're not tempted to go back and use them. And I understand that it's easier said than done, but
yes.
you know, those kind of distractions
can be fatal.
And are. Yes. Regularly.
And when that happens, or if that person had actually been in an accident and killed someone and survived, how do you move forward in your own life knowing that you killed someone and that happens, right? That
absolutely.
Driver survives, and they've killed one or two or more people. How do you move forward in your life knowing that you had to answer, you know, your girlfriend's text message so immediately that you killed people? And that's the other part, like, your life is forever impacted in an incredibly negative way.
Yeah.
How do you live with that guilt? So why not prevent that?
Yeah, and we know ourselves, and we know that you're tempted at that stoplight to whip out that device and check your texts.
Yes.
And it's not acceptable. If that device is in your hand and you're in a live lane of traffic, it's you know,
dangerous.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Absolutely, 100%.
So what about the voice recognition texting, so that your supersonic vehicles now that text for you, is that still a distraction? Is that helping, hindering?
I think we all know the answer to that. And if you're true to yourself and look at your driving behavior and how, you know, even try to, if you're doing a voice over text to somebody, can you remember the last 5 minutes of your drive? And if the answer is no,
interesting.
Then you were distracted while you were doing it. So, you know, all we need to really prove for distracted driving, there's two components to it. There's using those handheld devices, which is a fine, and then there's the careless driving portion of distracted driving, which speaks more to the driving behavior. So this is the weaving, the fellow that you thought was for sure in medical distress.
Yes.
I mean, if we didn't see the phone, it's a solid careless driving.
So, and careless driving also could be people are eating and grabbing things, putting their makeup on, all of these
things we hear about,
right.
they do happen. We don't just pull those out of our ear.
Yeah.
They actually happen, and any officer that's been on the road any length of time will tell you ridiculous stories of people doing things in their car while they're driving, trying to save time, or they're bored, or I don't know what it is, but you know, your eyes and your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road, that should be your primary focus.
I just don't think people think that it could happen to them, right? It won't happen to me, and I've got this.
Yes, every tragedy starts with somebody who thought it wouldn't happen to them.
Well, of course, you don't think, you know, geez, I might have a...
Is today my day?
Is today my day? We
right.
None of us think that, and when people look at the statistics, that, I mean, it's something that happens every single day, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Wow. So we've covered 3 of the big 4. What's our next one? What have we missed?
Impaired driving.
Impaired driving.
Still going on, still happening. More so along long weekends. You know, Thanksgiving, having that glass of wine. I'm dropping this like crazy today.
Yeah, so
I'm actually going to tuck it away. You know, having that too many glasses of wine at the cottage and then trying to go home or the pub or whatever it is. We still have it going on. It's still happening with regular and reoccurring frequency in our region, and you know, we're starting our next big campaign. We're starting is Festive Ride, and you know, we're going to reduce impaired driving everywhere. That's what the RIDE acronym still stands for, and we do that 24/7, 365 in the OPP. We try to remove impaired drivers off the road, and we do that with the help of the public when they call somebody in that may be impaired. They also may be drowsy or distracted, but you know, it's important to call those in and tell us, so we can you know, track down that driver and make sure they're not in medical distress, or you know, sometimes they are impaired.
Yes, and it's interesting because I always say, if you see something, say something. That's one of my rules. And if you see someone who is, you have to think, oh, it's none of my business. Of course it's your business. It's everyone. Safety is everyone's business. And if you see someone that's weaving, you might be saving someone else's life or theirs.
Call 911.
call it in.
Absolutely.
Just call it in. Now, again, we would probably need several hours to talk about the legalization of marijuana.
That could be a whole other show that we could do.
It could be a whole other show, but I'm sure that's going to be make things more complicated, difficult with impaired driving.
Not necessarily more complicated, because impaired driving is impaired driving.
Okay.
Whether you're impaired by alcohol or a drug.
Yes.
Impaired driving is impaired driving. If we see the signs that you are impaired to be operating a vehicle, the charge is the same. So nothing really changes as far as that. We just perhaps will anticipate that there will be more people on the road, you know, having substances in their body that will affect their driving behavior.
Take a cab, have a designated driver, don't be high or don't drink and then drive your vehicle. That's just an easy one.
Right.
Slow down.
And it is becoming less socially acceptable to do that.
Yes.
And we'd like to see that happen more towards the distracted driving end as well, but it is becoming very socially unacceptable. You talk to our teens these days, and you know, very few of them that are driving that way.
I'm pleased to hear that, actually, because that's the next generation's coming up. It's just, we have to normalize the right things. And I remember when I was a teenager, it's a while ago, I was embarrassed to wear my seatbelt because that wasn't cool.
Yep.
Which is, yes, it's ridiculous, but it wasn't the norm. And now, like, our children growing up, we've normalized that, right?
That's right.
And we can normalize anything. So normalize that you wear your seatbelt, that you don't tailgate, that you don't drive like a maniac, and you certainly don't have your cell phone, because it can, I just need to check that one message really quickly.
That's right.
It's temptation. So
and that's when you look up and the traffic is stopped in front of you.
Yes, and maybe you didn't stop and you've rear-ended someone.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's how it happens.
Those are all very significant and important tips. Now, are there places people can go and see, like a website or something, great tips for great driving, or do people just know this?
Well, the Ministry of Transport has some tips on safe driving, but a lot of them are common sense.
Oh, common sense.
And we're in short
common.
supply of that sometimes.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. Truthfully, it is. But
generally, people know better than to do what they're doing.
Know better.
If your head's down and you're trying to fish that cell phone that you dropped on the floor, leave it there.
Just leave it there. And
pull over, get it, retrieve it.
Yes.
Or leave it there, put it in the glove box, get it out of the way so you're not distracted by it.
Well, you've seen it. My husband as a paramedic has seen it. I've seen it as an ER emergency room nurse. So many tragedies that were senseless.
And it's hard because that typical route to try to scare people is you're going to have this fatal crash. You know, people, it doesn't register with them as far as, you know, it's not going to happen to me.
Right. So
I'm actually a good texter.
Yeah.
I've heard this. I'm a good texter and driver. I've heard that too.
Isn't that great? That's something to brag about.
I'm really good at it.
That is something to brag about,
right.
Especially to an officer. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, so I will have your license memorized.
Right.
But then I say to people, if you don't care about your safety, think about someone else's. If you don't care about that, avoid the ticket. How's that? Avoid the ticket, avoid losing the points, your insurance goes up, there's a ripple effect, isn't there?
We would much rather have somebody comply on their own without them having to get a ticket, obviously.
Yes.
That's why we do these kind of talks, to you know, let people make the decision on their own.
Yes, and it is common sense. So let's just be safer. Yeah. There's enough things that happen, like natural disasters that have happened, that we just can't do anything about, but we can do something about this.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. So that's our first light topic that we're going to talk about. And actually,
we started with the light one.
Yeah, we started with now, and the next one that I'm pretty passionate about, actually, because it's a little bit self-serving when you said that this might be a topic, because we have 13-and-a-half-year-old twins that are going into high school.
Yes.
A boy and a girl.
Yes.
And of course, good old social media, you know, we're those parents that haven't gotten our children a cell phone yet. That's us. That's not a terrible thing, is it?
Not necessarily.
No. So
you won't avoid it forever, though.
Oh no, we're very aware. So parenting in the age of social media and how to best protect and support children as they use social media. It is a reality. It is how they socialize. We can't shelter them forever. Now they have iPads at home, etc.
That's right.
But first they want to text, then they want to Snapchat, then they want Instagram, and you know, I we missed all this era in high school, so yes. I know, I always remember saying in high school when people started to take computers, oh, that's just for, you know, the nerds. We're too cool for computers. Well,
that's right.
Yes.
And back in that day, they said, oh, by the year 2000, every classroom will have, you know, a computer at the desk.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't happen that way, but it happened differently. If you noticed, everyone's got a supercomputer in their pocket.
Oh, exactly. It's so a great big step further.
Absolutely.
Yes. So in this age of social media, where we can't see every single thing our children are doing. I mean, I can't spend every night reviewing everything, and I know there are some parents that spend hours. How can we best keep them safe? It
starts very early when your kids are young, and giving them the confidence to be able to make appropriate decisions when it comes to those kind of devices. That's the starting point.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
The second point is gradually letting them explore those apps, and you know, most of the time you'll see that within the form of an iPad or a family iPad when they're very young.
Yeah.
So this is when mom and dad need to be on board. They need to start understanding those applications and what they will do and what they won't do, and how to navigate within those applications. So learning very quickly what the important ones are. Snapchat is very important for our youth. They use it as a tool to communicate with each other every day, and not so much every day, every minute of the day.
Yes.
It is that much. It is that excessive. Okay?
Yeah.
So learning the big ones, your Snapchat, your Instagram, not so much Twitter, not so much Facebook.
Okay.
Generally, they keep those other ones for parents to see. When they say, let me see your social media, they'll show you a Facebook page.
Oh, this is the one I show mom, and this is,
Correct.
Okay.
And with Instagram, a common trend, even among my children, is fake Instagram, or they'll call it Finsta accounts. Finsta, fake Instagram. So they'll.
Ooh, okay, I learned a new term. Okay.
That's right.
Finsta.
So they'll have that on their Finsta. So that's the one we don't show mom and dad. We show mom and dad this regular Instagram account, but then we have Finsta that we can. Indeed. So being able to navigate within those apps and understanding how to get from here to there to everywhere is pretty important. And the most important starting point for parents is start friending on those social media accounts the kids' friends. You'll glean a lot of information from the kids' friends.
Will they friend us? Like, will they?
Yeah, initially they will, because it'll be fun and cute. And then you fade into the background and don't actually communicate with that app.
Right. Oh.
And then they'll forget you're there, because they've got thousands of followers, friends, they call them, whatever. You'll fade into the background, and very quickly.
You have to get on that.
Right?
Yes.
Not friend them in a weirred way or a creepy way, but friend them.
Yeah.
I'm using the app. We're having fun exploring the app.
Yeah.
And then you disappear into the background and don't engage.
Okay.
So I can tell you a cute story about one of my 16-year-olds, and she'll be very upset when she sees this that I'm talking about it. She came into the house one night and looked at me and said, "Dad, Grandma is ruining my life."
Oh, Grandma.
Grandma is ruining my life.
My life.
Yeah, Grandma decided to get an Instagram account and started in Instagram, and she of course went back into all my daughter's posts from 3 years ago and liked and commented on every picture that was there, which is a big social no-no. You don't do that. And of course, Grandma is ruining my life forever because of Instagram.
Yes.
Grandma didn't mean anything by it. She just didn't know the kind of etiquette that happens there. So
yes, don't over-like, don't over-comment.
Or even, like I said, disappear in the background on a lot of those apps, and you will be able to, I mean, the newest Snapchat revisions have actual GPS where they can see their friends where they are and where they're standing all together.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. So
wow, okay.
You may get your child blocking you, but their friend who accepted me a year ago has forgotten I'm there, and I can follow them, no problem. So, I mean, being able to manipulate those apps is crucially important for understanding how kids communicate right now, today, and what they're doing with their phones. So kids get themselves into trouble when they've got their devices free and clear all the time. So another helpful tip would be at bedtime, remove those devices right out of their room.
Yes.
They don't go to bed with the device. A lot of people do and think that their kids don't touch them, but I can assure you that 2, 3 in the morning they're on them.
Yeah. And what good is going on at 2 and 3 in the morning? I just
nothing. And the other big one is we don't allow their devices to go into the bathroom with them.
Okay.
That's when you get these interesting selfies in bathroom mirrors and such. And those are the tamer ones, but you know, the way the Snapchat app works is you send your friend a picture and that picture disappears, or so they think, into cyberspace after a few seconds. Right. And it's not quite the way that rolls out. They think it does initially, but you know, there's all kinds of things like screen captures and those kind of things. So a picture that you think you're just sending to your friend, be clear that it's going to other people as well.
And so for people, if you only friend request or you need a friend request to be on that, how do other people, I mean, I know people hack and get in, how do other people, like how would someone else see my daughter's Snapchat stuff if she hasn't friend requested them?
Well, easily, because their friend took a screenshot of that particular photograph, saved it to their phone, and then just gave it to all their friends. And you know, I've seen whole hockey teams share pictures of young ladies that that poor young lady didn't think was going to anything but that boy that she sent it to. So there's some danger there as far as that goes. They need to be aware that, you know, not everybody you're going to send, you know, these inappropriate pictures to are going to keep your confidence as far as that goes.
That's really scary. And are there other places parents, where's a good place for parents to get tips for all of this? Is there somewhere that they could go to?
They're out there. If you look on the internet, you can
just
see
Google
some of them. Yeah, you can Google it up, and that's a famous word in our house is Google it up.
Just Google it.
Just Google it up.
Oh, Google it up. Okay,
Google it up.
I need to be cool. I need to know the lingo.
It's just our lingo, but that's okay. I don't know how cool it is. I'll be told very quickly that it's not.
Yeah, that's totally not cool. Yes. But we could talk about this, I know.
We could go a long time on this. I mean, we could talk about
but I have to wrap it up.
Digital footprints and all those kind of things.
Yes, you have to think about these things.
Absolutely.
And I told you this would go by quickly, and we're already out of time, if you can believe it. So I so appreciate that you're here, giving people something to think about, prevention and being aware of, well, the driving and the social media, two very big things that we need to practice prevention, don't we?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thanks. So this has been Real Life Talks. Thank you so much for joining us. This is sometimes about having hard conversations or just talking about things that we don't talk about generally. So if you want to be empowered and resilient, if you want to be able to show up for yourself and just show up for others, my call to action as always is plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thank you. Bye for now.